So, hello, welcome to the Chatterbox with yours truly, King Jacob. And tonight we have another controversial topic, that's dealing with the community, mothers and fathers, and the social service industry. And so we're going to talk. We're going to be talking about child supports and the mental health edition of child support when it comes to the children and the parents. So I have with me Mr. Sean American out of Florida, Coral Springs, Florida. I have Miss Bunny Miles, Batesburg, South Carolina, and I have Miss Tamiko Tut. And you're in Greenwood, correct?
Augusta.
Yeah, Augusta, Georgia. Okay,
Mhm.
okay, great. So, I did a show with you guys before, Miss Tut and Miss Miles, and I wanted to bring part two because I've been hearing some heartbreaking stories, and a lot of these are on the father side as well, as far as when they become single fathers and, with them being a male, they can't get any help. So before we go into the help in the social services, I'm going to let Sean tell you more about his story as a single father and about his battle with social services.
Thanks, Jacob. And Jacob knows me all too well. We've spent many, countless hours together, cooking together, eating together. My girls call him UJ, Uncle J. It's hard. I don't know why. I don't know where the line is. I've been a single dad now for 12 years. My daughters have only seen their mom 2 times in 12 years. And the only reason that they seen her was because of the death of my mom and my dad. And we flew up to Massachusetts, of course, for their funeral. And I was like, hey, we're here. Do you want to see him? Yeah. It was a couple hours of basically nonsense. But it's so hard. I don't know about anybody else, but anything I try to apply for, whatever, we're okay now. We're not perfect. We still, it's a struggle every day. But no matter what I try to do, it's a circle. It's a big circle. You talk to somebody, you're on the phone for 4 hours, and at the end of it, you're back with the person that you started with. I just wish there was more. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's hard. It's hard. We make do. We've always made ends meet. Not always. I can't say that. We've been evicted, all that stuff. But it's hard. It's hard. And when you talk to a lot of these people, social services and all that, they don't treat people very well. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been through it, nothing like that, but
It's true.
well, you're a male, especially. I'm not singling myself out. It's just my experience. It's almost like, well, you're a male, you should be able to do whatever. Well, it's just like a woman. I mean, no, I can't. Without my family, I've had huge family support, which I think is a big missing part in a lot of single parents. Family is the most important thing. I have 3 sisters that without them, I would have had nothing. But they've always stepped up. A lot of people don't have that, so I get it. But just even trying to get any help is this big circle of nonsense. It's nonsense, complete nonsense. Jacob, he literally knows my story.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. It's hard. And I feel bad for so many people because there's a lot of people I have immediate family that have helped throughout everything. If it wasn't for my parents, if it wasn't for my sisters, if it wasn't for, people like Jacob, I mean, we would not have made it through. And there's a lot of people that don't have that. And I think with the social services part of it, they're missing a big step. They make you jump through hoops. They make it in that hoop. You jump through the hoop, and then you're gonna jump through the same hoop. I mean, other than that, I mean, I'll let somebody else speak. That's just how I feel right now.
So, from with me knowing with me, being an uncle to Gabby and Noel, and
UJ.
me seeing, Gabby and Noel emotional and how it affected them mentally, man. When all the other kids' mothers is showing up at the schools and stuff like that, and they come home to you, and you have to try to clean it up as best you can. How has that mental and emotional capacity kind of, made you a stronger person as a dad?
Well, when they were younger, then that's when you were kind of around all the time.
Mm.
It was really hard on them, but now they're older. They're 13 and 15 now. They have their mom's number. I have no contact. It's just there's nothing more for me to say. You know what I mean?
Right.
They I let them try to be a part, but she still just doesn't do anything. But mentally, they're okay. Here's the thing. You got to be strong. Never, never, ever talk bad about the other parent. Never.
That's right.
Because that just makes you look bad. Jacob, for a fact, I've always let them make their own decisions. When they were younger, you know what I mean? I policed it.
Right.
But now at 13 and 15, you have your mom's number. You do what you want. I do want to see the text and stuff. I'm not going to ever be angry at what you said or whatever. But do what you want to do. And I'm not going to put it out there totally, but so far, I let them do that, and it just becomes a heartbreak.
Right. So, I'm gonna let Pastor Bunny step in now. Pastor Bunny, from you being on the social services side, and me, you talk periodically about what you've seen when it comes to men and how you have tried to change the narrative to let men know what they are capable of doing when it comes to their kids and the rights that they have. So with Sean's situation, what would you say about their situation and how could that narrative be changed?
I want to say good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
To you, Mr. Sean, I want to apologize because being on the social work side and also Miss Tamika Tutt was also with DSS for quite a period of time. Jacob, she knows both sides of it, the mental health side and the social work side. And we do have a lot of workers, and me and her both know, that have no business working with the public. We're just going to be honest. You have to have a heart for people first. The situation that you've experienced, you should have received some type of assistance, but sometimes a lot of things falls through the crack. First of all, because every worker does not know their job. That's key there. And
100.
And I really do feel that's where you were at. And then, or either on the other end of the tail there, your worker did not want to do her job. It's either or. And I hate that your children have to suffer with it. But one thing, as a father, I want to applaud you for being a father that's always been there for his children. But it may be somebody after the call that I can get you in touch with that can. My thing is, for just like even with the child support and all that, it is a broken system. We know that. That's majority everywhere. Mostly every state. Very few states, I think 5 states are actually running at 100% concerning child support out of all of our states. It's a broken system. And as far as with the mother, as you said, being the father that you are, children need security. That's what you have provided. It's good what you said. Jacob said when he sent the information out, it should never be mother versus father. That's not how it's supposed to be, because it puts no security there. I do know that it does cause a whole lot of issues when anything comes into play, when it comes to the mother. But I tell Jacob know that I tell him this: most women think I'm on the men's side, because what I look at is the system. Because the main thing is this: both parents made that child. The mother just birthed them from a room, but both the parents produced that child. Both should have the responsibility. But as we all are saying here on this line, I don't know where the mother of your children is at mentally, but something has to be wrong. Something has to be wrong. And a lot of times we do have to look at that side of it. And it may go all the way back to her childhood, even a very young age, but something did not click. Because one thing I do know, mothers just don't walk away from their children.
I can kind of put, a little answer to that. When I met her, all this good stuff, whatever. But I did find out when she was about 13, her mom put her into a girls' home. That's not awesome. You know what I mean? Yeah. But in my mind, okay, you grow up, you have children. Do you want to put your children in that situation? You know what I mean? I mean, there's a point where you can stop blaming your youth. Mm-hmm. You just have to do what you have to do. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but.
So, Mr. You've been on both sides of the fence, and I'm gonna say it's hard to be on both sides of the fence.
I've been on a few sides. I'm still trying to figure out.
Miss Tut looks real comfy right now.
I told y'all it was past my bedtime, and I'm just, but
right.
I love it.
When the topic is important, that's what my heart is, and I've always been a huge fan of when someone comes to you for help. If you don't have the answer, especially if you're in a role of a social worker, case manager, therapist, whatever that role is, if you don't know the answer, let somebody know you don't know the answer, but don't stop there. Seek the answer and provide the person the information. If I call to an agency and I say, hi, I got custody of my kids, I just want to know, how do I go about applying for food stamps? Are my kids eligible for food stamps? Oh, how many people in your house? 3. Oh, you over the income limit. But there are some exceptions to that. There are definitely some exceptions to almost everything. It depends on the state. It depends on all kinds of situations, because every state has different guidelines and regulations as far as income guidelines. What Georgia has, South Carolina might not have. The income, everything is similar, but not necessarily
exactly
the same, And I'll give you an example. I don't know if this is still relevant today, but back in the day, in South Carolina, it didn't matter what kind of car you owned. You would qualify for benefits. So you had a brand new Lexus, you can get AFDC. They didn't count that resource because they realized in South Carolina, I might have had a dynamic job. Okay. I might have had a wonderful job and I might have lost my job. And the state was like, well, you have this car, you still need the vehicle, right? But in Georgia, if your car was valued at a certain amount of money, it disqualified you from getting certain benefits.
Exactly.
You see the difference? So those are the things that people need to know. Just in personal experience, I am seeing in my various roles, I work so many jobs, but in my various roles, I am seeing an upward trend of more fathers becoming single parents.
That's right.
And
I see that too.
The reason, and I'm just going to talk about my own personal experience with this regard. I'm single, so I'm dating. I have dated about 3 different guys, and each one of them were either in the process of getting custody or just got custody of their young kids. And I commend them for that. I commend them for that, because that a lot of fathers are now stepping up and seeing the importance of not only being a part of their kids' life, but now guess what? They are the custodial parent. You are actually, your child is actually in the home with you. You are the primary caretaker, the decision maker. And I think what happens with child support and mental health is when you use child support as a bargaining chip, when you use it as revenge, when you can't have a conversation. You know, my grandma used to say back in the day, you knew what that person was before you laid down with them. You knew. And that's a hard pill for everybody to swallow. And sure.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, part of swallowing that pill is going back to that therapy thing. You got to accept and meet people where they are, right? But when you got feelings involved, it's hard to do that. See, that little stuff that those people had going on when we were just looking at them and in love with them or in like with them or whatever, we didn't see how somehow later on, if we created a family, how this would transpose and come over years later. You can't tell when you meet somebody, you know, well, this guy, he started off really, really great. Okay, and I announced that I'm pregnant. He's going to walk away. Is he going to walk away when the child is born? Is he going to walk away because we break up? You got to get to know where a person's mindset is. Like, for example, you gave the example that your children's mother was placed in a group home. That tells me she has some detachment issues.
That's right.
She has an issue with being separated from her mother for whatever reason, whether it could have been mom was sick, it could have been she had behavioral problems, it could have been all kinds of issues, but it does not change the fact that she was separated and put into a facility. And even if she was integrated back into the home, that kind of broke her somewhere. Somewhere along the line, when she had her own kids, it was like a disconnect. Now, this is me guessing because I don't know. I'm just basing off what I've heard so far.
I get it.
What I've heard so far about her not being in the kid's life. Most moms will go to hell and back for their children.
That's right.
Exactly.
And I'm one of them. I got a grown one that I still can't let go and two little ones at the house. And it's just like, I give them my last. I make it happen. I mean, I have stayed up nights. I've worked multiple jobs. I've gone to school. They were my motivation for everything. So when I hear of women that somehow, some way don't do that, because it used to be the women were more of the backbone, even if the father did walk away, the mom was still there.
Yep.
Even drug moms sometimes will hold on to their children till they can't anymore. And it's not the, it's the drug. It's not necessarily the lack of love or whatever. But that tells me that she had some type of detachment. The other issue is, like I said before, when you use child support like a bargaining chip, you got to look at how that affects the children as well.
Well, I just want to tell you real quick about the child support. I never asked for anything, ever. The only reason child support even came into the picture was because my daughters, I can't afford health insurance. I had to apply for Medicaid. Yeah. They made me go through, in Florida, it's called, I don't even remember. But if I didn't take her to court for child support, the kids would lose their Medicaid.
That's right.
And I didn't want to do that. So, I mean, to be honest, it sucks. Yeah, I could use help, but I don't want it because it's been so long. But they made me go through the system. You know what I mean? And then here's the funny thing. It was 2017 or 18. I was supposed to go through child support enforcement. That's the word. And I just didn't. And I ended up having to have 2 stints put in my heart. 2 days before that surgery, it was canceled. Now I owe $54,000 in medical bills because I didn't do something that she was supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard. Because I never asked for anything. I've never in my life, Jason. You can be my,
But that's the thing. A lot of people feel guilty for asking for things, but when when you have a child or children with someone, the expectation should be that that person should be present and helping. But if they're not, thank God that there are programs that, you know, are out there in each state that are willing. But like I said, each state has different rules, you know. So the thing of the matter is, you have to realize that you are entitled to that. The children are entitled.
And it's very hard to get that entitlement.
Yeah. And it should be. Medicaid should be one of those simple things. Now, I will say this. I don't know how long ago that was, but COVID has really, really caused an issue. You have people working from home that are not good from working from home. And I'm one of them.
Right.
You have people that, you know, they do better with somebody over them or whatever. And then you have like the rules were changing from week to week with a lot of these agencies. Oh, they can come in the office. The clients can come in. No, they can't come in. You can only call. I know from experience, I've had to call DFAX myself for clients, and I can't get through. You can't leave a voicemail. The voicemail is full. I actually had a DFAX worker call me back. I made a mistake and left my personal cell number instead of my office number. Call me back at 11 p.m. They are overworked, underpaid.
They are.
And it's not enough of them. It's not enough of them. And unfortunately, you know, I see both sides, but it still does not excuse the people that do not do what they're supposed to do, even when you are in that role.
No,
you know?
I get it.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate.
So with that being said, you know, Pastor Bunny, what are the type of programs that they have for single fathers nowadays? Or is there any, or have they created some new ones? Because there are a lot of single fathers out there now, way more than there used to be. So are there any programs that, you know, you can really tell us about?
Across the board, not any major programs. A lot of the programs are geared more so toward women, but there are a few programs for fathers. But the main issue with some of those programs are that a lot of those fathers have to work to take care of their children, and to qualify for those programs, they have to attend certain programs during certain times of the day. Then a lot of fathers can't do it in order for them to receive a lot of those benefits. That's one of the issues. But one thing that's missing out of everything that we're saying is, as me and you talked, Jacob, earlier, the community has to do their part. I understand.
I agree.
The first thing that most people gonna say is, I didn't tell them to have no children. They should have known this and that, all that stuff. Yes, we got to get past that phase. Or do you have if you really have a heart for people, you shouldn't have to have a title in order to help people.
Yeah.
The main thing is, we have, regardless of whether a person is a believer, as what I'm talking about in God, or whether they're not, as a church, I'm not talking about any other organization, the church should be first. I'm just a firm believer that the agency is supposed to fall up under that. We got things out of order. That's what really caused a lot of the issue, because there's no order. But when things come into the correct order, if the church take their rightful place, and then they take care of the responsibility that the Word of God say they should, regardless of who the person is or whether they're a believer or not, a whole lot of things could be settled. Why? We have millions of churches all over the United States. There's no way that families should be in need. There's no way. No way.
And I actually work with an agency right now, and I make a lot of referrals, and I get a lot of crazy requests sometimes that people think, are you kidding me? I got a request last week for something as simple as, I had a client, excuse me, that was mandated to go to a mental health facility, okay? If you're going to mandate somebody to go to a mental health facility, and you know this person doesn't have any family, no transportation, how are they going to get there? How are they going to get there? So the attorney came to me and said, can you help this lady? And I said, yeah. Picked up the phone. We have an agency called Catholic Social Services. They provide bus passes for people that have appointments. Now, the problem with that is I had to research over and over, and I mean, just trying to find people, because you got this organization that only does this, and you got this organization that may have a clothing closet. You got this organization that may do temporary free child care or various programs. There are so many programs and resources, but nobody, even the agency that I am at, we are looking at hiring a person to pool all this knowledge of these resources, so that when I know I need bus passes, whoop, this is who I call. And
I love that. Sorry to cut you off, because
no problem.
Whenever you look at, like I said before, whenever you're looking for any resources, it's a big circle, and you just end up back to the first person that you called. Yeah. So that's awesome. I love that.
And you got to be a talker.
And I'm a talker.
Because the lady with, now y'all think this is nothing but a bus pass. I almost just said, here lady, here go the money. You know,
bus pass means the world to some people.
And it did. And my thing was, this lady didn't have a phone. She didn't have a phone. And my job is to I could have sent her a letter. Okay, I didn't know if she had a mailbox at her house or a P.O. box or anything. So I said, you know what? She lives right around the corner from my job. Got in my car, went to her house, had it written up in a letter in case she was not home. I was going to leave it on her door, what she needed to do, but she was home. I asked her, did she need my help? She said yes. I gave her all the information, and it was done the next day. Sometimes as a case manager, social worker, whatever, mental health therapist, you have to go the extra step.
That's right. And
if you can't do it, then at least give your client that information. At least let them know or steer them in the right direction. You know, it bothers me when I can't help people. And that's how a lot of social workers and therapists get burnt out, because we do have a desire to help people.
I want to say something about that real quick.
Sure.
Social work is a stretch so thin that, you know, people like you, what you did is awesome. There needs to be more help. You know what I mean?
I agree.
You just don't get any, I don't want to say customer service necessarily, but a lot of them just don't care. They just want to check.
Yeah.
I worked my 40 hours. That's it. I'm done. But people like you makes a big difference. I appreciate that.
You gotta have tough skin to be in this line of work. You know, somebody that may have been frustrated might just cuss me out. That's okay.
Yeah, that's right. Just okay.
Because I got this thing, you cuss
they
me
might
out.
Be having a bad day.
I let you cuss me out. I'm like, you doing? You feel a little bit better now. You got it all out. All right. Now you hear me what I'm talking about. We're gonna sit down and talk about this. And most of the time, it is, you know, they want somebody to hear them.
That's all they want.
And even if I've called your agency, even like people that call child support and they want to know the status of their child support. I've done what you asked me to do. I filed for over a year, 2 years.
I wish I could pull up my report right now.
Yes, I done told you the lady working at Walmart. I done got a social security number. I done did all the leg work for you. Why you ain't got my child support yet? How hard is it? Somebody needs to step in and say, well, this is the procedure. This is why it's taking so long. The courts are backlogged. We need to have this information, or we can't serve her. We haven't found her, or she no longer lives at this address that you provided. There's all kind of things that come into play with that.
Yep.
So, and it's complicated as well.
I like what you say real quick.
Okay.
They don't even have the answers.
That's right.
No.
Everyone's confused.
Can I say this for a minute to intercept? That's when we come, okay, the next step. Concerning child support, like Tamika said, a lot of mothers have a misconception that when they file for child support also, mothers and fathers, but mostly mothers, because we have majority mothers that file first. They have a misconception that their income doesn't count. Child support takes both sets of income and they look at it. So what you're hoping for may not always be what you're going to get, because your income is also counted. You have some mothers that make more than fathers, but they feel like because that he's the father of those children, that he should be paying a maximum a certain amount. You have to remember, when you go through DSS or other agencies besides getting you a private lawyer, DSS gonna get their cut, and they get a major cut. Yeah. So a lot of people say, well, my check went with $13, and I know he paid $45 a week, but you had to pay the state, and all the other people had to be paid. So that's why it's best to try to settle. It's best. You know, sometimes you can't. This is what I talk about settle. I have had to talk with parents even up to lately this week, and I had to get a mother and father together and tell them, say, okay, y'all got a major issue. I said, I'm sick of this. And I said, what we're gonna do before we leave, I said, y'all might have to stay all night, so we're gonna settle this. I said, either what you need to do is, you're not working. I can't say why. Do you want to accept the job here? And his thing was, he can't work for a certain amount, which is true. Because if he takes that $9 job an hour, he still can't take care of his bills. He can't take care of anything, and his child support going to continue to get behind. Yep. So I told him, until you get a job, she working. She shouldn't have to pay no babysitter because she's overqualified for ABC voucher by $126.35 a month. So she doesn't get ABC voucher, but she got 3 children under the age of 10. They can't be home by themselves because next they'll call child protective services if you done took your children. So fathers and mothers are gonna have to work together, and that's one of the awesome things that happened in that situation. We got it. So the father is gonna be getting the children after school. He's not working. Yeah. And then instead of her, when she gets off work, coming directly to get the children, she'll go home and give her a few hours of sleep, and everything, do some things that she do some errands, and then she gets her children. He didn't want it like that, but that was the best thing to work for him because he knew that he could not afford to go back to court because he already has a criminal case. So we got to bring all of it together. Incarceration system and the child support system are 2 of the biggest business systems in the United States right now. They're pulling in more money on those 2 systems than anything. So when you got a convicted person who has a record, who is already incarcerated or either out of incarceration and has to pay and he's on probation and he's paying. If you're on probation in most states now, except for 9 states, you're paying a fee, and then you're also paying for anklet braces in most states. And within the next 3 years, all states will be doing the ankle braces when you come out on probation. That means when you come out, you got to pay some money. When you come out of jail, they give you 72 hours in most states to pay that $300 fee to probation and parole board. And if you don't, you automatically get locked back up and have to serve the remainder of your time. That's before you do anything, and you're already in the rears with your child support.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
And
so the system has to be fixed because it's really mothers and fathers who are paying child support. The system is killing them. And they don't realize, make that your last option. And fathers really, really, really need to know their rights because a lot of them don't. Yep. And I know Jacob probably gonna go there later. You got to know your right. Father and mothers who are not the custodial parents, if you don't have your things together, you could be raising your own birth child and you don't even have any rights.
Yep. You know, so, it's a cycle.
So we're having those rights, how do, professionals that work in the social services industry, how do they really take time to explain to the male and the female what their rights are, and why men really don't know their rights? So like, have it been such a thing that has been by the wayside where most males believe that they don't have any rights, and so why is it?
I don't think so. That's
in the state of South Carolina,
it's different.
People have to understand, if you're not married,
you have no rights.
When you
birth
a child, the father has no rights.
No rights. The male
has no rights. He don't have rights unless we need you to have rights to do something for those children.
Amen.
Now, I was in court. I'll never forget one of my first court cases, and the young man, of course, DSS got involved. We had 2 potential fathers there. This man thought he was the father. DSS goes in. The first thing we have to do is establish paternity, right? Mm-hmm. This was not a newborn. And the mother came forward and said, no, I think it might be somebody else. I just never said anything. So this young man was paying child support for about 4 years. Okay. And when his attorney heard that he was not the father, the first thing the attorney said was, I would like for my client to be relieved of his child support obligation. You know what the judge said? The state of South Carolina does not bastardize children.
That's right. That's what the judge said. That's what the judge said.
You mean to tell me he still got to pay child support? The judge went on to further say, you've been in this child life since this baby was born. Why should you stop supporting now just because a document says that you're not the biological father? He then turned around and ordered the man that was there, that's the biological father, to pay as well. So this woman.
So hold up, back up.
You heard what I said?
Yes,
stop. Hold up now, back up. Stop the press. Technical file on the play.
And that was in Saluda County.
Yes, Saluda County.
Listen, man. Listen.
County.
You said that the guy found out that the child wasn't his. And he still had to pay child support, but the biological father that just come to play, he paid child support too.
That's correct.
How does that make any sense?
It doesn't.
The state of South Carolina does not bastardize children, meaning he claimed paternity for that child.
Yes, he did.
He signed a birth certificate.
He claimed paternity for that child.
That's
just like a man that marries a woman and she steps outside of her marriage and gets pregnant by somebody else. That husband's still the legal father.
He's the legal father.
See, that's why it's just so important for y'all men to know your rights. When you are dealing with a woman and you're not married or you got some doubt, it don't make sense to me to wait 3, 6, 7 months. Do the DNA immediately if that's the question. I don't care if she get a little mad. If I'm a guy and there's some kind of doubt, that way you already know.
But Tamika said something very important. When you're not married, she said in the state of South Carolina, the male, the father, does not have rights.
Your mama don't either. Grandparents, aunties,
grandparents, or anybody.
None of them.
But if, say, a woman, as she said, who's married, and either she ends up marrying, that man becomes the legal father of that child. The biological father doesn't automatically have rights. So just like I'm gonna give a perfect example. Me and Leroy both had children, a child each, before we married. When we married, my son Mario, which everybody know about Craig Bush, Mario's biological father is Craig. We were not married. Once Mario was 4.5, 5 years old, and me and Leroy married, Craig, he never had any rights because we never were married. But Leroy has had all legal rights to Mario until he turned 18 years old. And that's in every state. That's not just South Carolina. You do not have rights when you're not married. That's why it's so important. When you're not married, I tell every man, anybody can tell you who know me, I tell you, when you're not married to the woman, whether you're with her or not, establish paternity. I say that the reason being is you have to, because if something comes up or something happens or that mother dies, you still do not have rights.
I know people that are grown. That's why paternity court is so popular and it exists. The show Paternity Court. There are grown folks that even the mothers have thought that this is their child or whatever, and it comes into play later. In establishing paternity, it helps cement who that child is. That child has a genetic makeup that's unique, medical issues and concerns.
That's right.
A right to inherit.
That's right.
If it's not established who the legal father or the biological father is, let that child die. And your mama already know who your daddy is, but he ain't never been on child support. He's not on the birth certificate. His family don't care nothing for you. But let's say he gets killed in a car wreck and you got a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. Oh, well, he had a good job. I'm just going to go to Social Security and get his Social Security. It ain't that easy. It's not that easy. See, you got an uphill battle because Social Security gonna want to know, well, wait a minute, these kids 4 and 5, he never had a support order. There's no documentation anywhere. So let's talk to his family and see if they will corroborate your story. No. See, he may have 2 kids over here. Those 2 kids that he has acknowledged or has been established, they're going to immediately start getting benefits. But you're going to fight for yours. And then all of those benefits are if you end up getting it, it's going to be split. So that's why fathers need to know their rights. I can't drive it into guys. Don't run away from this is your child or this is not your child. It's best to know, because it does not matter if you deny today and 10 years from now she decides she wants to put you on child support, and I want my back pay. Your back pay is accrued at the rate of what you're making now, not what you made 10 years ago. So you could have been working at Zaxby's 10 years ago, but you might be working at Savannah Riverside now. You're going to pay her money. Now you say, okay, well, I just pay her for the 8 years. No, you're going to owe her for the 10 years plus the 8 years. And even if she drop it, don't forget your children, who now may have some animosity towards you. Mm-hmm. They still have the right, while they are over the age of 18, to go after a father or a mother for child support.
That's right.
DSS specifically sends those letters out.
Wow.
And one thing you can do when the child is born, a lot of people run to the hospital because the mother wants that child to be in the father's name. Remember this, in South Carolina, signing the birth certificate does not establish paternity. That doesn't establish paternity. Your name is just on the birth certificate.
And it can bind you to a child support order, but they don't establish no paternity.
Is you have to complete or sign an acknowledgement form. You can do that also at the hospital, but they never tell you that. They have a social worker is the one who comes in and do the birth certificate. Most of the time in most hospitals, they don't even bring in the acknowledgement form, because the acknowledgement form is signed. Because when you go to court, let's say you go to court, as Tamika was saying, a lot of people don't realize. I know a father, he took care of a child for 14 years, and he said, well, I just found out the child not mine. So I told him, there's nothing you can do.
Nope.
I said, because you signed the acknowledgement form.
Well,
the birth certificate, signing the birth certificate doesn't give you any right. When you, the acknowledgement form saying that you're saying that this is your child, once you sign it, you can't go back and say this is not your child later. They don't allow you to do that. They don't allow you to do that. You can, a lot of things you can take care of in the hospital, and people need to know this for sure. DSS, if you are unsure, if you have any doubt that you're the biological father or biological father of a child, DSS can provide the testing, and it's free. DSS testing
usually at the hospital.
At one time, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, John.
If I had taken care of a child for 14 years, knowing or unknowingly, and then I found out it wasn't mine, but I loved that child, it wouldn't matter to me. I would do whatever it took.
Most people it wouldn't, because you've already bonded with the child. That's why the state of South Carolina doesn't bastardize children.
But this person did it because he found it was his brother's child, and it called the law.
Oh my!
All right, that's a little different. I got you.
It was his brother's child, and that's
now, Miss Bunny,
on that.
He would not have done it. He would not have done it. Because I know him personally, and I know that. But because the brother was pressing issues now.
Huh? Well, now, Miss Bunny, we're cooking with some hot grits, and it's a little butter, and you're gonna throw a little salt and pepper on there. Now, that's a whole lot. As the
Jacob, can I say one?
But that's life.
Can I say one last thing before we go on? Always remember this on the mother's on the mother side. When a child who is under age of 17 now in the state of South Carolina gives birth to a child, there is a law that took effect in they've been put, they had tried since 2007. It never did go. But in 2000, I'm looking at the law now. In 2017, South Carolina Code of Law passed a law title number 63, that's 17. I know about heart by 350, the grandparents' responsibility. That's why South Carolina has a lot of grandparents paying child support. If your child has children under that age, they can sue you for child support. And I know 3 people in Saluda that paid in 2017.
And another thing that this little gray area about that age range, minors can't really apply for Medicaid for themselves. So let's say, I'm gonna use me. If one of my younger children gets pregnant and I go to try to get them some Medicaid, I'm over the income limit. And guess what? My health insurance is not going to pay for the birth of that baby either.
Nope.
So what am I to do? Now, I used to be a Medicaid caseworker, and I did have that situation happen. It is that gray area that nobody thinks about. But who is responsible? It falls back on that parent. The parent of that pregnant person. So you're telling me, even though, situations get tight, things get heated when things like that come up. You never know what emotions are going to come out of it.
That's
and
right.
I think that's what people miss when child support and all this stuff gets involved. I'm a divorcee, and when before my husband and I divorced, we sat down and thank God we were able to act like human beings, except for about 6 months. We had crazy about 6 months, but during the time when we sat down, we knew exactly what we wanted. And the county, the judge, my lawyer, his lawyer, everybody in agreement. We sitting up there getting ready to get divorced, thinking I'm gonna walk out of there a free woman. And guess what? The judge said they got to testify. I said, so my attorney come out red, his attorney come out red in the face. We're trying to figure out. I said, wait a minute. So the kicker to my divorce was I did not want any child support. I didn't want a monthly stipend from my soon-to-be ex-husband. He had agreed to purchase a home for me and the girls. And we had all of this worked out. So I didn't need that. And it was written up, but the judge didn't want to agree. Now, if me and this man that been married 20 years can sit down and come to a decision, how you gonna tell me what's fair?
We made this decision as grown adults.
So I can lose.
I got a good
cool
story when you're done.
Yeah, I can lose my cool. We sit up in the courthouse and the lawyer comes out there and his lawyer looks at me and said, well, you got to testify because she got some questions for you. I said, I'm not putting my business out there. I said, she can't make me get divorced today. I withdraw the action. Thank you, salute to DSS and state of South Carolina. A little bit of while. I withdraw that. I will not get divorced here today. And so I said, I looked at my attorney. I said, how much more this gonna cost me? I said, can we move this? She said, we can move it to Greenwood County. Sat before another judge, same arrangement, same everything. I was divorced in 5 minutes.
That's all right. That's all right.
I tell you, what I tell people is knowledge is power.
Yes, it is.
It is.
That lady, I'm sitting there. The one thing I'm trying to avoid, you're not finna call me up in there and rake me, him, and the attorneys over the court and go through all this again when we have already decided. So
right.
Research yourself sometimes.
That's
and
right.
if you don't understand or if it gets confusing, because the laws can be very confusing, but in every state there is usually some type of agency. I forget what it's called. Is it the Law Center of South Carolina? In Appleseed or something that used to
Appleseed
that you can call and they can answer a few legal questions. They don't advise you, but they may be able to interpret a law and break it down in plain English for somebody. Because sometimes legal stuff is complicated.
Right.
It's always complicated.
Right.
So I just wanted to put in, it was kind of like what you were saying. So I had a son when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
His mom is still one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But at 16, you don't know what's going on. But at 18, we had drawn up our own little what we were going to do. You're going to pay this, you're going to have them this day, we're going to have them this day. And we brought it up, and of course, at first you go to the, who is it before you see the judge? The
court.
Exactly. we showed him, you know, what our plan was at 18, and we weren't mad at each other. There was no issues. We just were kids, and we brought it to the judge. We, of course, first the clerk of courts, and they accepted it. We brought it to the judge, and he looked at it, and he's like, at first I thought we were in trouble. He's like, "You guys kidding me?"
They couldn't believe it.
I was like, "What?" He's like, "You two came up with this, and you're 18." We're like, "Yeah." And then he like looked at the court. He's like, "Do you see this?" He's like, "You guys are grown." He's like, "These are kids that have had a kid for 2 years, and they came up with this." And we stuck to it. Eventually, my son, he went to Catholic school, graduated with honors, went on to Boston College with a full ride. We were lucky, of course. You know, we couldn't have done that without our families. My parents, my sisters, her parents, her sisters coming together. It takes more than just the immediate two and the child.
That's right.
It really, you know, it sounds cliche. It takes a village.
Yeah.
It really does. Nobody's going to raise a kid by themselves. You can. It's been done. I get it. I'm not saying that. But my whole life, without my family, even just raising my 2 daughters, my youngest one sitting right here, if it wasn't for the rest of my family, it wouldn't have happened. I think the biggest thing in this country is the family unit's gone. It's gone. Everyone wants to argue and complain about this, and it doesn't matter. When it really comes down to it, you just need that unit.
The picture that I saw mostly at DSS when I was doing eligibility, especially, was usually you would have a mom to come in and apply for. She gives birth, she comes in, she's applying for benefits, and you know, the father may not be involved or involved as much as he needs to be. And then the mother is forced, in a sense, to apply for benefits for the survival and the care of her kids, right? You know, she gets the AFDC, the food stamps, Medicaid, housing sometimes, WIC, you know, for herself and her child or children. And then she can, you know, she may or may not, like I said, get sporadic support from the dad, you know, and he's absent for whatever reason. But if he's not willing to provide, you know, monetary support or any assistance to the mom, you know, she's at that situation where she's forced again to put him on child support just to receive those benefits. And, you know, and I know it's cool because sometimes moms don't want to do that. They don't want to break the peace, you know, and, you know, mom has hard decisions to make because, see, the daddy might not be doing anything, but his mama might be doing something, or his sister might be doing something. And when she makes that decision to put him on child support, well, then auntie mad, grandma mad. So nobody does anything. Well, she put me on child support, that's all she gonna get. So y'all understand, you know, now you got this cycle because she's trapped. She's got all these benefits, right? She's housing, food stamps, Medicaid, barely making ends meet. So she decides she's gonna get a job. What happens when she gets a job?
She gets nothing.
Her rent and housing gonna go through the roof.
She's worse off than she was with the job. Trust me, I know. I know.
Benefits gonna be reduced or even stop. Possible child care issues, because depending on whatever income she in, she might can get a voucher, she might can't. These are the issues. It's like a vicious cycle. It's almost like I have to decide, am I going, and this is how I am. I'll go to the man and say, listen, this is my situation. My ex-husband, I don't say nothing too much negative about him, because when I was, you know, single and working, and he was doing everything he was supposed to do as far as in the regard to our kids, I ran into a child care issue. I work weekends. It's hard to find a babysitter on the weekend, and they were too young to leave at home. Now I make good money on the weekend, so I'm like, I can pay somebody. Now my ex-husband was a long haul truck driver, so what he did was he said he was in Texas. I'll never forget it, and I developed a newfound respect for this man after this. He said, when you go to work, I said Friday. This was like a Tuesday. He drove all the way home, no load, and kept the kids that weekend. And he tried his best to coordinate his schedule so that he can be home on the weekends that I worked and get those kids. And that made all the difference. So when somebody can bend over backwards that, this is taking money out of his pocket. You know, because he was an owner operator at this point. This is taking money out of his pocket. He could have been working. And I tell people, just because you're not together, just because y'all done argued and did whatever, if you can focus on the benefit is for the child.
That's right.
That woman don't need them food stamps and their Medicaid and all of that, because you can go to work, you can get some insurance, y'all can split the cost, you know, however you want to do it. You know.
Can I say this? Tamika said something so important a few minutes ago. On the mother's side, is for the benefits and all that. And that work mean the agency. I'm not gonna say the worker, because a worker doesn't make the law. They doesn't make the rules. The mother doesn't know 99.99999% of the time that when she does have to, or even when she's forced to, or either she just does it on her own, that once she put that man on child support and she received those benefits, he has to pay restitution on two of those benefits that she received. So he's paying his child support, then their restitution. So AFDC, I try to tell people, yeah, you may go apply. You may apply for somebody's Medicaid and all that stuff, but it's not free. That father, once he gets on child support, that system recoups. So he got to pay. He's got to pay that money back. So
and it doesn't matter when, because the state is gonna always be here.
The state is everything is there. The system is broken. It's set up wrong. The parents of those children, as she said, they've got to learn how to come together. As Sean said, him and the mother of his first child did, and settle some things on their own. It's the best option. The last option should be through the system. Sometimes you have to go through that, but let it be your last option. And the reason being is, all the while you're trying to handle all this stuff, all this paperwork, all the issues, when you look back over there at that child is steady growing. And they realize that my parents, you know, I have seen children. Tamika know, we used to transport parents to see their children. While they're with one parent, they just love them. They may get with other parents and talk about that parent, not because they want to. Sometimes children say things when they're in the presence of the other parent because they feel like they have to. They want the love from both parents, but sometimes a child has watched so much and seen so much, and especially the bad, they don't know. They have split their love between the parents when they shouldn't have to. You have to make it easier, not just for you. We grown folks we need to put on our big girls and big boy pants, and we have to take a lot of things, but always remember, these children didn't ask to be brought here. At least out of respect and love for them, try to at least do it the right way, because right now, as you look at the numbers, suicide for young people on an all-time high.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Destructive behavior, all-time high.
People are not coping with these issues, and it's a snowball effect. You know, you have somebody. We have a housing crisis in Augusta now. You know, and it's not your typical homeless people. It's so many people being evicted after the COVID stuff, and families not having anywhere to go. And then not only that, these are people that were working, but they can't get into new housing.
That's right.
Because now they got this eviction. The rents have gone up, you know.
Yes.
It's gone up. I mean,
South Florida, my sister's rent, I mean, they're okay, but the rents have gone crazy here. She renewed her lease last month. Her rent went up $1,000. Not a couple hundred, 1,000. I'm just waiting to renew my lease in a few months and see what happens.
we are getting companies. The Augusta is becoming a cyber capital. So as cybersecurity, and we got the Fort Gordon and stuff. So it's a lot of people have been coming into the area. Housing is limited, and so what companies from out west, all over the United States, what they're doing is any available house that is being rented or being sold, they're buying it, remodeling it, and boom, it's a little house up the street from me. In McCormick, that house probably go for $70,000 to $80,000. But now
it's 200.
That's $190,000. And if you saw it, you'd be like, "You got to be kidding me!" But it's gonna sell. It's gonna sell.
That's right.
I can dig it. So guys, time is up, and I do appreciate the dialogue, man. Learned a lot, heard a lot, and I hope this has been a blessing to someone in the audience. I hope it's been a blessing to all of us, and just gonna tell you, my brother Sean, keep pushing, bro. Keep pushing.
I ain't gonna stop. Yeah. You know me too much, bud.
Right. And so I didn't see you go through it and you scratching your head and
you literally seen me go through it.
Yeah, so keep doing what you're doing, man.
Fighting. But real quick, sorry guys, it's the family unit. There's some people that they just don't have connections with family. I get, but call your aunties, call your uncles, ask for help. Don't feel bad about it, because I did for a long time. I didn't ask for help. But if you it doesn't matter, your cousin, your brother, your sister, if you need it, try to ask. They'll be there. I promise you.
Right. For sure. So until next time, guys, I want y'all to have a safe and a blessed night, and be good this weekend. And I'm here. If you need me, call me. And thanks once again for coming on the Chatterbox.
All right. It was a pleasure meeting you all. I really appreciate it. Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, you, Jake.
Night.